Good morning. Happy Thursday. I'm coming to you a day late this week. I was on vacation and my brain got all scrambled and forgot what day it was. So I've got my coffee. I have some cold brew from Blue Mug today, Blue Mug Coffee in Greeley, Colorado. And it's delish, of course. It's already warm here today on this hot summer day, so I had to get something with ice in it. And today I want to talk to you about something novel, so not a frequently asked question, but something that came up over the weekend. My husband and I went to a restaurant and we got the bill, and there was a 20% charge for service included. And at the bottom it said that the restaurant was proud to be a gratuity-free restaurant, that all the servers are paid a wage that's adequate for them, and that there are no tips allowed. There wasn't a line on the receipt to add a tip, and we didn't leave a tip. It was considered, included in the cost of eating at the restaurant. So the question that I would imagine someone would ask is, can they do that? It's a really popular trend on the East Coast and the West Coast, some of the major metropolitan areas, to pay a living wage to servers instead of having servers depend on tips and just eliminating tips altogether. But this was the first time I had eaten at a restaurant where I had seen that. So is it legal is the question I'm happy to answer. And the answer is yes. So there are laws governing when tips can be shared and when tips have to be paid to employees. But if there are no tips, as long as the minimum wage is being paid, it's legal. So employers can take what's called a tip credit, and most people are familiar with not necessarily the tip credit terminology, but the fact that servers at restaurants or other employees who are often tipped can be paid less than the minimum wage, and then they get their tips to make up part of the difference. So employers can only do that if the tips make up the difference. So if an employee is working as a server, but it's super slow and they don't make enough tips to make up the difference between that lower server minimum wage, tipped minimum wage, and the state minimum wage in Colorado, then the employer has to pay the minimum wage to the employee for those hours when they didn't earn enough tips to make up the difference. But if the employee is not being paid tips and the employer is paying at least the minimum wage, then there's no issue. So I just thought that was something interesting that came up, and I would imagine that people would have questions about whether an employer can do that, and the answer is yes, as long as they're paying the employees minimum wage. So a brief one today, but I just wanted to pop in and say hi and talk about that interesting thing that came up over the weekend for me, and we'll see everybody next week. Bye.